Hello and welcome to number 8 of our final mission, finding the bones and belongings, Christian's bones and belongings, my brother. So this week has been one of supporting others and having others support us. I've just seen the card that I got last week. We got the Miracle of Isis, Miraculous Healing of the Goddess, and actually looking at it now, I can understand why Osiris is carrying Isis on his back, and that's the real support. So as you may know, we have an online community called RAISE, and within there we have a core team of, there's 9 of us now, and I'll tell you the importance of that. But we are the RAISE Rebirthers, the core team, and we are looking to recruit more RAISE Rebirthers because the numbers of stuck spirits that we're releasing and the number of people who are coming into RAISE looking for support, who have had the calling and they're now like, what do I do with this? I need support. The numbers are growing, and yeah, we need to recruit more. So on one side we've been supporting other people this week, and it's important that I share with you what. So RAISE has 3 arms. We have the support, we have the rescue, and we have the education. So like we educate, which is part of why I do these films, is that we're educating the living about the afterlife and the possibility of getting stuck earthbound, and trying to prevent that so that we don't need rescue mediums at all. So yeah, the support is really important. So Chris, actually, he showed himself this week as fully as an ancestor, which to me seems weird because we were the same age. I mean, you know, he was only 14 months behind me in terms of physical life, but he is now fully as an ancestor. And I know that because, he showed himself to somebody who is a potential RAISE rebirther who has come into RAISE, and she was part of a group doing a shamanic journey, and Christian came in totally unexpectedly, and he walked in with a pride of lions, the RAISE lions, to support, I'm not going to give any details, but to support the mission that circle was doing. And it was interesting because he came in as the ancestor, on the ancestor's side. So it makes me laugh, if I'm honest, because it seems so surreal, but I can understand it. Like now Christian's totally, and I calling him Christian more often now rather than Chris, as I knew him. So he's kind of reverted back to he was christened Christian. And actually there seems to be more power in the name Christian rather than Chris. So it might be that from now on, to support our mission, which I'll tell you about in a minute, well, it just lends itself, I maybe need to revert back to calling him Christian. There's more power in that name, he tells me. Okay, he's showing me that's quite feels like an initiation for both of us to not call him Chris anymore. Okay, I didn't expect that. That was a bit of that's part of the initiation moving. We've had a big week of shedding things, of cleansing things, and it might be that the name Chris is one of them. Okay, so from now on it is Christian, and that's going to be a change for everybody because everyone knows him as Chris in our group. Okay, that needs to be done. Okay, sorry, I didn't expect that. New things coming all the time, and I'm so glad I do these on Friday because it's been a very heavy and intense week, which I will tell you about. And I kind of yesterday I had the whole day off because I was so exhausted. But today it felt like I needed to, it's so good having these weekly films on a Friday, because I can look back at the week and just realize how much has happened and where it's all been leading to. Yeah, so anyway, Christian turned up as the ancestor into a group, and they were, and the lady who is the potential RAISE rebirther, she actually said that something I knew, but actually having it told to you by somebody else it makes sense. So she actually said that what the work we're doing in RAISE, helping stuck souls, will help change the energy of the earth plane and for the humans here, which I've always said. And we can't fight this negative energy that's around. We can't fight it. We need to reduce it to the size. She's like the metaphor of like a marble sizes, my marble size negative energy that we can then just get rid of. So our work moving the stuck spirits through is cleaning up the environment that us humans living our lives here in the physical. It supports our cleansing as well. So if you imagine, like, if you're in a dirty environment, you're going to be affected by that dirt, even whether it's in your health, it's what you're seeing, it's the perspective that you see in front of you. It gives you nothing, you know, all you can see is dirt. It doesn't give you the potential, it doesn't give you the possibility. And actually us going in and releasing that dirt, it lifts everything. It lifts health, it lifts your perspective, it lifts your energy, your emotions. So that's what we do in RAISE. We're releasing the stuck spirits for us in the living, us living, as well as those that are earthbound. And somebody also told me that, and again, this is something that I know, but somebody else reflecting it back, is that RAISE is going to be a global phenomenon that spreads to the point where every person has heard of it. Which I was like, oh, okay. It will be so accepted that just as people decide whether to be buried or cremated, they will decide if they want to rebirth a present at or right after their death. So it feels like it's part of actually being a RAISE rebirther is going to be a real support to the living as well. Like, I suppose we've been concentrating, because we do the rescue side, we're releasing the stuck spirits. But actually there's an element of interacting with the living, I guess, before they pass over, if they know they're going to pass over. Like, and being almost like a pre-warning them about to go to the light, that it is for them. We have an awful, I'll tell you a bit more about that. But yeah, so all this information came through, and it almost feels like being told that kind of thing actually supports me and our core team, because we know, because we're not doing this for any, I mean, we're not getting any financial reward from it, and it feels like we just keep turning up every week. We're just turning up to do these rescue circles. We're here for to support people when they get the calling and they don't know what it's all about. So it's kind of like we're working towards something we can't see, but the faith is there, and we keep being repeatedly told by people outside, you know, outside of RAISE, that this is what is happening, which is heartening. It's like really supportive. And I did actually do a meditation yesterday when I was tired, and I felt I'm not unbalanced, but just not just drained on my left side, which is the side that I interact with spirit. So I did a meditation, and actually I got myself balanced, and this huge column of light was all around me. And somebody came in, and I don't know who it was, but they said, do you need a place to practice your circles in? And I was like, wow, okay, yeah, no, we'd love to be gifted a house that has some kind of lighthouse thing going on. And they were like, okay, we can gift you that. The work you're doing, we can gift you that as your space. And I was like, oh, thank you. And we'll give you, support you with the maintenance of it. We'll support you with all of you who do the work. We'll be supporting you with it. So that was like yesterday's just huge alignment with whoever it is who is going to be supporting us moving forward financially. It has to be financially, and providing us a space for us to be able to do this, like a proper RAISE HQ. It's a place. Anyway, we'll see. I'm just going to record. I'm just recording stuff that happens so that it's all recorded when it does happen. And it doesn't look like it just happened out of nowhere. Yeah, so and also that's kind of like the long-term view. So like we're being supported in the long-term view, and Christian is very much there supporting other groups who are also looking at the long-term view of clearing up the energy that we live in. So and then directly we have been supporting, I have been supporting people this week very much. I'm not going to give you details because they were private conversations, but there's universal themes that came up in them. One was about somebody, again, these are all potential RAISE Rebirthers who have come to us, come to me. I've been meeting people in the supermarket this week. I've been meeting people I know but haven't seen for a long time, and people that maybe I was supporting in my previous role as like a grief way shower, but they're suddenly come back around. People just circulate around and around and come back when they're kind of ready for the next step. Yeah, and I met somebody in the supermarket. Somebody came directly into RAISE Rebirthers this week just in time because it was a very intense and heavy session, and that was our number 9, so it feels like we've got our full team at the moment. That was our sort of foundation team, so that was brilliant. So one of the people was actually and this is so common, actually frightened of stillness, of meditating, of like what will come through if I find stillness and meditation. What am I going to experience? What, you've got the calling, there's something going on there. And it's really just so important to have that faith that if you have the calling to come to RAISE, to come to be a potential RAISE rebirther, which you possibly are if you're watching this film and it's just appeared to you on your YouTube timeline, or your recommendations, like you will be supported. You are supported. You're not alone. You've been brought to us, and it's almost opening yourself up to meditation and stillness, but knowing that you are protected, knowing that there's a reason you've been called. Yeah, and it's so important that you can't do this work without stillness, and you can't support others until you can support yourself. And part of supporting yourself is being able to find stillness, is being able to allow emotions to come through, is to call in your protection. It's to have that faith in yourself and what's within you and outside of you, that this work is for you, and it's a safe thing to do, and it's like your destiny path. So yeah, that's one thing. So we're supporting in terms of the meditating and yeah, finding and supporting people to find their own way. Like, we're not gurus, we're teachers, I guess, in a way, in that everything that we've learned we share with everybody, but everybody finds their own style and their own way of connecting and their own tools that they have, their own particular gifts and abilities that they have. So it's just, yeah, a gentle support. We have like a trellis, I guess, and people wind their tendrils and grow on that trellis. We've also had other people who have been in RAISE for a long time, and they've been gradually working through with our support, not really knowing why they're there, and then suddenly realizing why they're there, because they are there to support their families going through a bereavement. So that's happened probably a lot of times, but this, particularly this week, has been shown to me. So our support is helping somebody else support their family through a bereavement, and that's why they've been here all these years. It's sort of, yeah, it's amazing how it's happened. And this person is another potential RAISE Rebirther who is actually in the field now doing the work, and she's like ready to do it. So yes, there's lots of supporting that's been going on this week. We've also had two other things I want to say about being us supporting others. Is that we had our is this a this could be on the both supporting others and us being supported. So we had our uncle's funeral on Monday, and I mentioned about our uncle last week being to do with the films that Chris and I are going to make, and we always thought he was going to be helping us with those while he was alive in the physical, but he passed gosh, nearly over 2 weeks ago. Can't remember, it's gone, so it's happened really quickly. Anyway, we had his funeral on Monday, and during when they talk about the life, I can't remember that, is that the eulogy? Anyway, details about the life. I found out that our uncle's father had actually died. He'd been a wing commander, and he died when our uncle was 2 years old. So our uncle was brought up by his mother with his brother. But interestingly, when our uncle was in his late teens, early 20s, I think, he actually travelled abroad, and I can't remember where it was. I'm thinking it was somewhere in Scandinavian for some reason. And he actually went to find the nurse who was the last person to see and treat and be with his father. And I sat there and I was like, oh my goodness, he went to find something that was very important to him, to be able to have that connection with his father, to have that connection to thank the person who had been with his father, who had helped his father pass over. Maybe I'm getting heat in my back about that. She must have been helping him pass as well. He was obviously wounded. Sorry, I'm just getting things that I will privately remember. So yes, so our uncle he's good at finding things, which kind of explains why he's in this position now, and he's laughing as well. So and also when it was a cremation, and they had his name up on a screen. There were 2 screens, and he had his name, and he had all these candles behind his name, so it's obviously a generic candle picture, and they've lit like tea light candles, and they put his name across the top or the bottom. And I thought, oh, I'm just looking at the candles, and I thought, oh, how many candles are there? And I counted them, and then I counted them again because just to make sure, and there were 27 candles, and that was the age that Christian was when he passed over. And I just thought, oh, okay. And I felt Christian sitting next to me during the funeral service, because obviously this was his uncle too. So yeah, I just thought I can just sort of see them together now. And obviously Tony, our uncle, would be the ancestor now as well. Once I feel like he's done his life review, and I feel like he's kind of taken his seat with the ancestors already. So that was a quick process. but he came through us, or came through me and up through to Christian, so there was no glitch in his process. Yeah, so that was interesting. So supporting each other maybe, and supporting us in the future. Again, there's nothing on the bones and belongings to report, but I feel like we had to get the funeral out of the way, and the circle fully held, the 9th rebirther. Yeah, so we'll see. I think we'll see what the card is for next week anyway. I'm going to talk about the actual rescue circle this week because it was incredible, and it just shows the support that we can provide as RAISE. So we had asked for particular themes this week, because so every week during the week we sometimes get spirits who they feel like they're representatives of a certain group, and I used to get this a lot, an awful lot, but other people are now in the group are getting them, and they come forward before the circles and suggest to us that there's a group who are ready to be released. So there's a group that have been, who know about what we do, and they're like gathered together to go en masse. And this week we had, and places this week as well we had. So we had a I don't know if I'm going to name the place. No, I'm not going to name the places, but one is quite a large village in East Sussex, known for its long history of strange things going on. That place came to us. So we had lots of release from that place, an awful lot. Some of it was quite funny, because the characters, they came as almost as a village celebration, like a May Day, or could have been something to do with, yeah, there was a maypole involved, and I can't give you details, but they came as a village, and there was one of them who was the leader of the gang, and he asked to be, he was fulfilling a celebratory role, a ceremony role, a funny ceremonial role, as a sort of fool, as a leader, as a, not a jester, that's too strong, but yes, I had to knight him before he would go into the light. So he was there was some fun in it, actually, in there. And the other place that we had was actually one of the concentration camps in Germany, which wasn't so fun, but we supported the release of thousands, and it was interesting because I don't know how much I can say. Let's just say that we hold no judgment as RAISE Rebirthers. Anybody is, we welcome anybody into our circle and into the light. There's no judgment here at all. They need to go into the light because, actually I wrote this down because it came up in the film. There was perpetrators and victims, shall we say, from this concentration camp, and all we could say, we had to support some to go into the light. Nothing can be done to clear their energies when they're earthbound. It serves absolutely no purpose, no good purpose for them to stay earthbound. When we're judging, we're like, they've done something, they're not allowed to go into the light, they don't deserve to go into the light. That doesn't help us. Oh my god, that doesn't help us in this earth plane in the slightest. The only way that they can find release their shame, there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of regret, there's a lot of guilt. This is making me, but it was quite it was emotional in the circle, but I want to just share the message that they must go into the light, because that is where the healing happens. The healing happens, we were told this week, by heat, through like a there was funnily enough, the light that we had this week, so we have a main sort of beacon for the light to go into the light. This week it was very fiery, rather than a sort of golden bright light. It was quite fiery, and I do feel that there was an element of the healing, the burning that had to go on this week for certain spirits. And yeah, they have to go up. It serves no purpose for them to stay earthbound. They have to go into the light. And we had, in fact, so we actually had the perpetrators and the victims actually supporting each other to move through, the ones we could see. So a lot of them go through en masse, they go really quickly through, and you get an occasional thank you, but you don't really feel it. But this felt, the going through en masse was very slow. It was like they were walking in rhythm. It was they'd been in a death march, and they were still continuing that, and they walked into the light, but there was the stronger supporting the weaker. Yeah, it was very moving, very intense, very heavy. But we also had so along with that, we also had many victims and perpetrators of other more medieval no, some weren't, some were modern warfare, or this century, or last centuries now, warfare, torture victims, soldiers, lots of soldiers this week, and perpetrators, and even like what I would class as medieval, yeah, felt very medieval. And you know, all the tortures that we learn at school, the historic ones, there felt like a lot of those perpetrators coming through, and victims. I'm getting heat in my back. There were lots of them this week, and we had called them in. They had been waiting. They had been interacting with some of our team, and they were waiting for release. So it's not always some of it is light-hearted, some of it is, but some of it isn't, but it is necessary, and it is the release that they are waiting for. And a lot of them were going like, this is unbelievable. Is this light really for us? Are we really able to? It felt like they'd been in a kind of purgatory all this time, like, this light is not for me. They had seen the light, but it was like, this, I can never get forgiven for what I've been doing. And I don't know, maybe somebody's watching this film who's thinking, I'm never going to be able to go into the light. The things that I've done, things I've caused, the damage I've caused. But you must go into the light. You must go into the light. It is for everybody. It is for everybody. And there's no judgment there. There's absolutely no judgment. Yeah, it was sorry, that's gone quite serious. And actually something about the camera just moved there, funnily. So there's lots of them around. There are, and our work is about releasing. It's all about releasing. It's not about judging at all. Yes, so on that note, on that heavy note, we're supporting others, but we are also being supported in this work. There is no doubt in my mind that source, God, the universe, love, whatever your experience, whatever your beliefs. You maybe don't have beliefs, but I can and I didn't, but I can definitely tell you over the years that let's just say love is a power that we harness in RAISE. And for us to do this work, we have to have experienced the love that holds us. And that is part of the support we give to others, to be actually able to connect with this love and experience it and have faith in it, because you do need that faith to do this work. And this week was we tried something different. So before we did the circle, 24 hours before the circle, we called in some animal messengers to support us. So they went out, and I made a list of what they did. Each of us have different animals that we used. Obviously, I and Chris used the RAISE lions. So we have a pride of lions, and they appeared. I always knew they're there because I can visualize them, and they are there, absolutely there. And there are 4 main ones. They hold the space, the 4 main ones. So I sent out our RAISE lions to the concentration camp, and actually to the town, the large village that was in Sussex. But our team also had there were buffaloes that were holding the space. There were moths, there were cows, there were woodpeckers, and kookaburras were there as well. So we are supported all the time by these. They were animals, and we work with, I guess, all our backgrounds are in the shamanic area. So it's very much about energy. It's very much about healing, collecting missing soul parts. Yeah, it's really working with energy is what it is essentially, and balancing the sort of knowledge with the power and love. That's very simplified. But shamanic training and sort of indigenous cultures is very important to us. Mother Nature and music and movement and the magic, very important. But yes, the animals, they give out the good news that the beacon, that this RAISE lighthouse is going to be lit up and they can use it. So they're sort of giving a pre-warning to spirits to know that it's there. They're answering any questions. I'm just reading this because there was a list. They answer any questions about the process, about who's able to go. They relay that there's going to be no judgment at all, that all can access the lighthouse who approach it with good intentions. We actually, no, I'm not going to say anything about that, but we invite spirits with good intentions. The animals tell, or the messengers tell the stuck spirits what happens in the light, like the healing that happens in the light and what's possible. And they identify stuck spirits who don't know that they're dead. So Christian was one of those stuck spirits who didn't know he died. He was, did I call him Christian? I think I did, didn't I? Yeah, he was unconscious when he died. So a lot of the messengers the work they do will be about identifying those spirits who are stuck and don't know they're dead. So there's and they have to break the news gently, which is what happened with Christian. The news was broken very gently to him once I realized. And they also go and identify potential RAISE rebirthers in the areas that they visit. So I suspect if you are coming towards RAISE and these films, and you might have had a visit from one of our animal messengers. Funnily enough, this week I've had Fox, I've seen foxes in the woods. run across my path, which I never see. And this morning, before I woke up, I had a dream about two foxes. They were kind of grey. They were odd. They had mainly grey bodies, but then the bushy red fox tail. And I was expecting them. I approached them and I was expecting them to scatter, but they didn't. They came right up to me, and they were a bit aggressive as well. So that was odd. But foxes actually have been in my awareness this week, so I don't know if they're part of the team as well. So yeah, and they give you a nudge in our direction. I don't know. I do know how it works, but I don't know how this will be landing with you if you're watching. And the animal messengers also team up the stronger and the weaker. So we have stronger spirits, but we also have weaker spirits who are either wounded or they're injured. That's kind of the same thing, or they have an illness. We've had this week, and previous weeks running up, actually we've had quite a few younger spirits who have been ill, who haven't been very mobile. That's the easiest way to put it. So through disease, through health issues. So they are brought by the stronger spirits. It's been really interesting. So these are an element of the spirits helping each other through. As I said, there's often a ringleader who or representative who comes forward first, and then they have a lot of other spirits that they've brought with them. Much like in life, you have the leaders and they bring other people with them. Yeah, so that was the kind of the animals messengers have been really supporting us this week, and they make our work joyful. We know we're completely supported in this work, and I said, we don't get financial reward for this work, obviously, because stuck spirits don't deal in money, but we get given in return energies of abundance and love, and that filters through to all of us in our lives. Good things are happening for all of us involved in the RAISE Rebirthers, and it's only a matter of time. It feels like the momentum is slowly building, and we get to a point where it will, how in like flywheels you get to momentum and then they start spinning on their own. That's where it feels like we're getting to. And I think this, as I said, the gift of the lighthouse that we have, the RAISE headquarters, I told my husband the other day that we will get funding for this, and he was like, well, where's the funding coming from? He's not a believer. But I'm so sure it is. I'm so sure our work is going to be funded. I just know it is. So yeah, I guess that's us being supported. I just that faith, I know. And I just want to finish now with 3 tarot cards that I was given this week. So every Wednesday at 4 p.m. UK time, I do a live stream within RAISE. So that's for everybody. And you can obviously come and interact with us, or with me and Christian. But this week we did 3 tarot cards. I love tarot. I've been using tarot for about 5 years. I find it absolutely amazing tool. It's full of love. It's full of support. And that is one of the ways I get guidance and support from my guides, personal guides, is through the tarot. But I did a 3-card reading for everybody, for all the RAISE members this week. And the first one was the Hierophant, which is like, for me, that is about inner faith, is about faith in yourself, faith in love, faith in source, faith in oneness, and love. And that's like a major card. So that's something that we have to have as RAISE Rebirthers. We have to have that faith. we have to be knowing that when we go into these circles, when we go to support people, when we go to release, when we go to educate, we have to have the faith that our work is going to be well received, that we're going to be not overwhelmed, that we are protected, that we are here to make a difference, which not everybody's going to understand or support, and that's okay. Like, we just have to be able to do this work and carry on like that. You know, we're always supported, and I guess that is the miracle of ISIS, is that we know that we are supported like this. Yeah, so that was one of the cards, the Hierophant. And then we also had the Six of Cups, which is all about playfulness, family support, emotional, sorry, I've got something in my throat, so I don't know if something wants to come through, but there's emotional, like a family support, which I feel is what RAISE is like. If you come into RAISE, you're immediately, well, people tell me they suddenly feel like, oh my goodness, I'm home, I'm here, this is where I need to be. And that's the support that we provide. And then there was also the Three of Swords, which is the card of grief, of loss, of mourning, of the need for rescue. And seriously, you cannot support other people if you are if you're in grief, if you're in loss. You can't rescue others without rescuing yourself first. And I know that because through bitter experience, and I still believe that I wasn't able to rescue Christian because I was not in a state to be able to support him. I could not have carried him like that. So if we had a role reversal, Isis carrying Osiris, I couldn't have carried him. I couldn't have rescued him. I couldn't have supported him in my state of grief and loss that I was experiencing. I just wouldn't have been able to do it. Spirits come to us as RAISE Rebirthers because they trust us, because we are calm, because we are light, we're bright, we're in love. You wouldn't go to somebody for help if they were all over the place. Sorry, that's something's so I guess the first step, the first responsibility of becoming a RAISE Rebirther and doing this rescue work is actually to do the work yourself, on yourself first, and to have that inner faith that you know how to do that. We have all the resources in RAISE. We have a emergency grief kit, and we have a grief walk, which are films, or you can read the transcriptions. They basically introduced that. I channeled them 4 years ago, and they essentially take you through the whole process of balancing yourself, beginning the healing journey, finding that connection. So if you're in a space where you feel like this is in my lungs, this feels like in my lungs, this is, to me, shows grief. Grief sits in the lungs and the thyroid in the throat, and that's where we're seeing it. That's why I'm in my throat. I said something's, it's like if you're experiencing grief and loss, and it doesn't need to be by a bereavement. It can be this week's, what came up this week, that maybe you've been working in something that you know isn't right for you, and you've been doing that career for a long time, and you've never felt truly yourself or able to be yourself. Right, that can be a grief. That's interesting. That can be a grief. Like, you've been confused for this, I mean, I'm talking about myself as well, but like being in confusion for so long, not doing the work you feel you should be doing, like you're lost, you're confused, like you are like a rebel, you know you're here to do something, and you just have been too scared to step out of line and to stand up and be in the light, or in the spotlight. And like you've cared too much about what other people have thought of you. That's been a big thing. That's something that's defined my journey as well. And you get to the point where you go, like, that is a grief, that is a loss. What have I been doing all this time? But I know at the right time, at the right place, and it might be watching one of these films, you get that realization and make sure you act on it and come into RAISE, or like come and join one of, we're actually starting monthly discovery calls this month. First one's on the 4th of April, next Tuesday, where we're just going to be talking about, Christian and I are just going to be talking about RAISE and on Big Mission, and how you could potentially be a RAISE rebirther yourself, and just to ask questions and come and have a chat. It's very informal, very relaxed, but we're just going to kind of bring people together who might be interested in joining us in the main team. Yeah, so there's a lot of so it's grief and loss has been a big, and doing something about it, getting unstuck as the spirits get unstuck. We also, in the physical, if we believe we are part of this release team, then we need to get unstuck as soon as possible, and we can help you with that, support you with that in RAISE. So yeah. Oh, I know what we need to do. Final thing, I'm going to thank Isis for this card, because that was, as always, I didn't really understand it at first. I was hoping like the miracle of Isis would actually be Christian's bones and belongings being returned, or at least getting word from somebody that they have them being traced to us. But I do feel that we need to be very sure of, this week has been very much, we've had to be very sure of the support that's around me in particular, like being able to hold all of this. I don't have to hold all of this alone. There is so much support, and like this is a big family. Like it's not just us in the physical, we have all our guides, we have our animal messengers, with everybody. This is a big team already, and it's just going to get bigger and bigger. We have soul contracts with an awful lot of people to become RAISE Rebirthers, and to bring their guides and their loved ones into it. So anyway, thank you to Isis for that. And then I need a card for the week ahead, please, for any guidance. And if you're following along, because you might be on a journey with us here, just watching these films, you might be noticing things, support that's come into your life, or you're able to support people this week, or others. Just keep a note of what's happening in your life as well. I hope you keep a diary or a journal of everything that happens. I've told you this before, I have big mountains of journals, and it's so interesting to look back and just record things all the time, because you see the growth. Like even this week, if I hadn't kept a journal, this week just could have felt really heavy and busy and whatever, but I can see everything that's been happening was for us. So next week, it's card to support us next week. Okay, the Temple of Carnelian, entering the fierce belly of Sekhmet. So Sekhmet is one of Isis's sister goddesses, who is the lion-headed goddess. And Sekhmet, I've been doing Sekhem energy attunement, and I've got to my level 3, which has all been about so we've been doing all the rescue circles, which is bringing the stuck spirits in and releasing into the light. And then level 3 seems to be much more about spreading that light love messages outwards, so like having the ripple effect. So we'll see. Temple of Carnelian, I feel that's fierceness. Yeah. You have such strength within you. It is time to trust in your own boldness and courage, taking risks that feel true to your heart, and engaging in practices that make you feel truly and genuinely alive, embodied, and more of yourself, even if not always comfortable. You're going to more of yourself, even if not, are going to help you live the life you were born to live. Right, I'm not sure that made sense, but basically it's yeah, the lion-headed sister of Isis, the Egyptian goddess of passion, courage, and fire. There's no room for procrastination, self-doubt, or turning back. Got to have the courage of our convictions, to have faith in yourself and your own process, to be fearless as you are sure of victory. Sekhmet will not be defeated. Oh, okay. Divine justice, there's nothing to fear. Okay. That's going to be a fierce week then. I'm going to put it up there. And I'm going to wish you all a happy week. If you've got any questions, just leave them in the comments. Do please subscribe, like, because it just spreads the word. And yeah, have a lovely week and sending love. Okay, bye-bye.